What happens when the perfect player becomes available at exactly the right time? When does a veteran acquisition stop being a luxury and start being an absolute necessity for a team ready to compete? Welcome back, folks. It's Friday, January 30th, 2026. And if yesterday the mood was uncertainty with the goaltending coach firing and the Samuel Montembeault drama, today the focus shifts to offense. And the news arriving is the kind that makes fans smile thinking about playoff hockey. According to a surgical analysis from Michael DeRosa, the Montreal Canadiens have a clear target for the second-line center position. And this target isn't some promising kid who might work out. This is an absolute certainty. This is a Stanley Cup champion. This is a Conn Smythe Trophy winner. We're talking about Ryan O'Reilly of the Nashville Predators. Many thought that at 34 years old, he'd be slowing down. But the numbers show the opposite. The man is playing elite hockey. He has 50 points in 50 games, a point-per-game pace. Bringing O'Reilly to Montreal wouldn't just be adding goals. It would be adding a hockey university for our young players to attend daily. In this video, we're going to dissect why Ryan O'Reilly is the perfect fit for this moment in the rebuild, which is already turning into compete mode. We're going to talk about his contract, which is a bargain, the protection he'd give Nick Suzuki, and how his arrival would transform our center depth into one of the smartest in the NHL. Buckle up, because the O'Reilly factor might be coming to the Bell Center. Let's start with the numbers, because facts don't lie. Ryan O'Reilly is in his 17th or 18th season in the league. Logic would suggest his production should be declining. But in Nashville this 2025-26 season, he's been reborn. The report highlights 18 goals, 32 assists, 50 points in 50 games. He's +8 and coming off an insane streak of 6 straight games with points, including back-to-back 3-point performances against Buffalo and Ottawa last week. He's not a veteran dragging himself around the ice. He's a driver. He's carrying Nashville's offensive production. For the Montreal Canadiens, who often depend excessively on the Suzuki line to create danger, adding a player who guarantees a point per game on the second line is pure gold. Why does Montreal need him so badly? Look at our roster today. We have Nick Suzuki as the undisputed first-line center. He's elite, but behind him, Kirby Dach has talent but suffers from injuries and inconsistency, as we discussed yesterday. Jake Evans is an excellent third-line defensive center, but he doesn't have top-6 offensive upside. Christian Dvorak, if he's still here, never established himself. We need a legitimate second-line center. Someone that Coach Martin St. Louis can put on the ice against the opponent's best line and say, shut them down and score a goal. Ryan O'Reilly built his career doing exactly that. He's one of the best defensive forwards of his generation, a Zelka Trophy winner. Imagine the freedom Nick Suzuki would have. O'Reilly would take the difficult defensive zone faceoffs. O'Reilly would mark Connor McDavid or Austin Matthews. Suzuki would be free to face the opponent's second or third line and destroy them offensively. It's a matchup advantage that changes everything. Now for the part that makes GM Kent Hughes smile, the money. If O'Reilly were a 3-month rental costing $8 million, the conversation would be difficult. But the article brings crucial information. He's signed through the end of the 2026-27 season with a cap hit of just $4.5 million. That's an absurd bargain. Paying $4.5 million for a center who's on pace for 80 points and wins faceoffs? That doesn't exist in the free agent market. Plus, having another year contract, the entire next season, means he's not leaving in July. He'd be here to help with the transition, to play a full season alongside Demidov and Slavkovsky. He fits the budget and the timeline of start winning now. But perhaps Ryan O'Reilly's greatest value doesn't show up on the score sheet. The report mentions he's well known for his leadership. We have a young, fantastic captain in Suzuki. But having a veteran in the locker room who's already lifted the cup, who's already been playoff MVP, takes enormous weight off the captain's shoulders. O'Reilly is famous for being the first to arrive at the rink and the last to leave. He has insane training rituals. Imagine the effect on Uri Slavkovsky. Imagine the effect on Ivan Demidov. Seeing a 34-year-old working harder than everyone else creates culture. It teaches what's necessary to be a champion. We saw the impact Corey Perry had here years ago. O'Reilly would be a turbocharged version of that, because he's still playing like a star. Of course, the Nashville Predators aren't going to give us O'Reilly for free, especially when he's playing this well. The cost will be high. Probably a first-round pick and a prospect, or maybe a young roster player. But if the Montreal Canadiens' goal is to prove they're true contenders, that's the kind of price you pay. We've accumulated prospects and picks for years. There comes a time when you need to transform those lottery tickets into real players. Trading a late first-round pick, say the one from Winnipeg, or our own if we make the playoffs, for a year and a half of Ryan O'Reilly is a deal any GM would make. Here's the bottom line. Habs fans, this news is exciting. Ryan O'Reilly checks every box. Need? Yes, second-line center. Production? Yes, point per game. Leadership? Yes, champion. Price? Affordable at $4.5 million. If Kent Hughes can close this trade, the Montreal Canadiens change their status immediately. We stop being the fun young team to watch and become the annoying, dangerous team nobody wants to face in the playoffs. Picture this lineup. Suzuki on the first line doing his magic. O'Reilly on the second line, shutting down opponents and producing offense. Danault on the third line, providing defensive stability. That's championship caliber center depth. That's the kind of roster construction that wins playoff series. And the timing is perfect. O'Reilly is having a career resurgence. Nashville is struggling and might be willing to sell. Montreal has the assets to make a competitive offer. The cap space works. The timeline works. Everything aligns. This is the kind of move that defines a franchise's trajectory. This is Kent Hughes saying, "We're not rebuilding anymore. We're competing for a Stanley Cup." This is a signal to the locker room that management believes this core is ready to win now. What do you think, folks? Should Kent Hughes aggressively pursue Ryan O'Reilly even if it costs a first-round pick? Is O'Reilly the missing piece that transforms Montreal from a playoff team into a legitimate contender? Would you rather see the Canadiens add a proven veteran like O'Reilly or continue developing the young players already in the system? How much would O'Reilly's leadership and championship experience mean to this young core? Drop your thoughts in the comment below and smash that like button, because if this trade happens, the Montreal Canadiens just became one of the most dangerous teams in the Eastern Conference. And we're going to be covering every development as Hughes continues building a championship roster.